Welcome to the Goodyear Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address the commission on both non-agenda and agenda items. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the commission. Please hand in your completed card to a city staff member. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to still voice your opinion on an item on the record without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The commission secretary will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear Planning and Zoning Commission meetings stream live on YouTube and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
Good evening. The Planning and Zoning Commission meeting Wednesday, June 12th, 2024 is called to order. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the Secretary note the roll?
Of course. Commissioner Smith is present. Commissioner Wang is present. Commissioner Nepomuceno is present. Vice Chair Sambito is present. Chairman Clymer is present. Commissioner Hegedus is absent. Commissioner Booth is absent. At this time, a vote shall be taken to excuse members unable to attend due to extenuating circumstances. Is there a motion and second to excuse Commissioners Hegedus and Booth from the meeting? No? Okay. I have a motion from Commissioner Smith and a second from Commissioner Wang. Please enter your vote. Motion passes.
Okay, item number 1 is to approve the draft minutes of the last meeting. Will the Secretary please read the recommendation?
Approve the draft minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on May 8th, 2024. Is there a motion and a second for the staff recommendation? That one. There we go. Why is this? Sorry, it's giving me a hard time here. Okay, there we go. Can I get a motion? I have a motion from Commissioner Smith, a second from Commissioner Wang. Please, yes, enter your vote.
Now's the time for citizens who would like to...
Not quite, just waiting
Oh.
on one more commissioner.
Oh, okay.
Nepomuceno?
I'm eligible to vote for this. I wasn't here.
Oh, okay, got it.
I was going to
Perfect.
say something.
Okay.
but
Motion passes.
Okay, very good. We got a new guy down here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now it's time for citizens to address the Planning and Zoning Commission on any non-agenda items. Are there any speaker cards?
I've not received any for non-agenda items. For non-agenda?
Oh, my gosh.
All right. So the commission will listen to comments and may take one of the following: respond to criticism, request that staff investigate and report on the matter, request that the matter be scheduled on a future agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The screens will let you know how much time you have left to speak. Before you begin to speak, identify yourself by clearly stating for the record your name and if you're a Goodyear resident.
Ken Hubble, yes, I'm a Goodyear resident. Chairman and Commission, I'd just like to know, a couple of comments, and I'd just like to know if we had any kind of updates on the construction for the roadway on Indian School between the warehouses and Citrus. There seems to be a lot of debris on the road, and also the Microsoft. That's the first thing I'd like some clarification on. And then also the landscaping for the Microsoft building. I know the road work's been over 3 years, so I'd like to see if, what the status is and whether we can get an update on that. And it's beginning to be a little bit of a safety hazard with people hitting the bollards, that are set up there, and also debris on the road. Wondering whether we can get an update on that.
Okay, is your contact information then on that card? You have a email?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
I got a
well,
phone number.
I will have Alyssa, we'll find out where we can get that information. I don't have it right now, but I
Okay.
will look it up. Someone will look it up, and then someone will contact you.
Yeah, it just seems like and the other comment I would like to make is it seems like the development, Sedella is where I live, west of the 303, gets very little attention, especially for that road. It's been way too long, and we'd like to see a little bit more action on it. They have taken action. They've started the construction on the roadway and so forth, but it just seems like it's a little bit too late, and it's not moving like it is. I'm going to compare this to the resealing of the Indian School over in the Palm Valley area. That was done very efficiently, already striped, repaved, and that was done very efficiently. Where it seems like the developments on the west side is not getting the attention that it needs. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on a non-agenda item? Okay, this is the opportunity for any of the commission members to disclose any ex parte communication they may have had prior to this meeting on any item scheduled for discussion on the agenda. Ex parte communication is any outside communication commissioners may have had regarding anything on the agenda. Does anyone have anything? No. Okay. Okay, there were 2 public hearings on the agenda tonight, but now it is only 1. So we're going to go to the first one. And as a reminder, the Planning and Zoning Commission is a recommendation only. We do take a vote, but it's a recommendation vote only for the City Council who makes the final decision. So agenda item number 2 is the West Valley Christian School expansion. I'm going to open the public hearing, and Assistant Planner Jimmy Carrion is going to present. Did I get that name right?
You did.
Okay.
I just felt like I should introduce him.
Okay,
Good
very good.
evening, Chairman. Christian Williams, Planning Manager. Just wanted to introduce our staff member, Jimmy, and he's our Assistant Planner, and this will be his first case that he presents to the body.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you for having me, and good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Jimmy Carrion. I'm an Assistant Planner with the City of Goodyear, and I'm here before you this evening with a request from Mike Patton to request a special use permit for a private school expansion. The property is currently zoned agricultural, urban, and commercial office. Regarding the location, the site is located directly east of the Roosevelt Irrigation District Canal at the northeast corner of Saraville Avenue and Van Buren Street, and is also located along 161st Lane north of Van Buren. There's an X in the middle of the map to indicate the site as well. The property encompasses 4 separate parcels, which are zoned, again, either agricultural urban or commercial office. And the entirety of all 4 parcels is approximately 16.45 acres. If we zoom in a little closer to the site, you can see the area In red is the location which encompasses all 4 parcels included in the special use permit request. So north of the property is the Roosevelt Irrigation District Canal. You'll see that in blue here. Harvest Baptist Church, Palm Valley Montessori School, and single-family residential. Van Buren Street and single-family residential is located directly south, with Compass Church and additional single-family residential just east of the site. The Roosevelt Irrigation District Canal, vacant land, Saraville Avenue, and multifamily residential is to the west. The orange highlighted area on the map here in the center points to a residential lot located directly north of the school, which I'll elaborate on in the upcoming slides. For a quick zoning history, the property was annexed into the city in 1983 with the city zoning designation of agricultural urban. In 2007, the Goodyear City Council adopted a new ordinance which rezoned a portion of the property located at the northeast corner of 161st Lane and Van Buren Street from agricultural urban to commercial office. That's highlighted in yellow here. This rezone was a result of a potential office building being constructed on that parcel, which never came to fruition. Also to note, the red dashed lines you can see here and here represent the other 3 parcels included in the special use permit, which have the agricultural urban designation and is highlighted in red. So this is the north, that's 1, this is 2, this is 3, and the commercial office one completes the 4th parcel. A rendering of the west and east sides of the classroom building is provided on this slide. The building matches the colors, materials, and architecture of the existing school buildings on site and includes stone, stucco, and window awnings. Also shown on this slide is a proposed site plan rendering. And I've highlighted the classroom building and parking expansion located just east of the building. The site plan rendering you will see on this presentation is not a reflection of the site plan document in your packet. This is due to the site plan design updates made by the applicant after receiving feedback from residents during the neighborhood meeting. The applicant is also requesting outdoor storage, and the proposed stipulations attached within this special use permit will permit no more than 4 outdoor storage containers, which will need to be constructed of metal and shall not be visible from Van Buren Street. Now, turning your attention to the graphic on the left, you can see an extended view of the school property and where these enhancements are taking place. And I've highlighted the area in green for context relative to the site as a whole. The parcel to the north of the main classroom building, which is identified with the number 1, is currently envisioned to be used for recreation and sports activities with the potential for future classroom expansion. The east parcels of the property, located at the northeast corner of 161st Lane and Van Buren, which is identified with the numbers 2 and 3, currently serve as temporary parking and may be developed for recreation fields, additional permanent parking, or classroom expansion, depending on future school needs. And the largest parcel in the center, which is identified with the number 4, houses all the current school buildings. If you look just north, highlighted in orange, between the property owned by the school, here resides the residential lot that I mentioned earlier. This residential lot shares access to 161st Lane with the school, and I'll talk about feedback received from the neighborhood meeting and how the applicant is addressing them on the next slide. The graphic on the right shows an enlarged site plan. So if you turn your attention to the bottom right corner, you can see that the site plan can be accessed from a right-in driveway onto 161st Lane on Van Buren Street, traveling westbound, or a left-in on Van Buren Street, traveling eastbound. And this is depicted with the green arrows here. Vehicles also have a right out or left out onto Van Buren Street, exiting the site from 161st Lane, depicted with the gold arrows. And located just west of 161st Lane, there's an additional right-out driveway depicted with the green arrow, or I'm sorry, there's an additional right-in driveway depicted with the green arrow and a gold arrow depicting the right-out exit. So the original site plan, it called for vehicular circulation to enter the student drop-off and pickup area right next to the residential property to the north. So if here on the cursor, you'll see the residential property to the north. So originally, the circulation was coming right up here, which is also the main entry for those residents. And then as they share legal access to 161st Lane with the school. So you'll also see 161st Lane highlighted in red on this photo with the proposed school addition in green. So after resident concerns were voiced in the neighborhood meeting held on May 22nd regarding circulation in and out of this area, design updates were made by the applicant to the internal circulation of school traffic. So one major update is that the school traffic now enters the student pickup and drop-off area at the southern portion of the parking lot, down here versus up here. And so it's not directly adjacent to the residential lot to the north. The traffic then loops around and back out onto 161st Lane in one continuous loop, and the green arrows identify the internal circulation path. Also, a separate fully paved residential and emergency access drive between 161st Lane and 161st Avenue will be created so that the residents to the north are not adversely affected by the internal school circulation traffic. And this access drive is highlighted in red in the photo to the right. And this will only be accessible to those residents of the north of the school, guests of those residents, and emergency services. And so for reference on both maps, if you reference this gold arrow, this would be the residential drive coming out. All right. Also to note is that school activities such as parking, queuing, and student pickup and drop-off will not be permitted on this drive. Another major resident concern was regarding school traffic queuing along 161st Lane, or 161st Avenue, which is just east of the school site. I've highlighted that in blue here. To address this concern, a wrought iron fence parallel to 161st Avenue, which is highlighted in green, will be installed along the west side of 161st Avenue on school property, and the residential and emergency access gate will be incorporated into this fencing as well. Also, a parking management and queuing plan will be created by West Valley Christian Schools and provided to enrolled students and their parents at least 14 days prior to the beginning of each school year and or prior to any new student enrollment throughout the year. This plan will clearly show the student pickup and drop-off routes, which will exclude the residential and emergency access drive. West Valley Christian School will also be responsible for enforcing this parking management and queuing plan. To ensure compliance with the stipulations of this special use permit, the school will submit this parking management and queuing plan to the city for review and ultimately approval. This will also be true for any future revisions or amendments of this plan that the school might want to make in the future. And one thing just to note is the updated site plan here that was created by the applicant was to address the resident concerns as well as adhere to the proposed stipulations. Staff has evaluated the impact of this proposed zoning to the greater community based on the special use permit criteria, with no major concerns being found and stipulations addressing many of the circulation and traffic concerns. With the stipulations presented, staff recommends approval of the special use permit. All right, that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time. I'm here, I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also here.
Questions for staff. I drove out to the site yesterday and drove around throughout the parking lot and so forth. That new road that you're talking about to allow access to the east, that looks like it's already under construction, is that right?
No, so.
No?
So the current construction that you're seeing is probably due to a grading permit
Oh,
that
okay.
the school has. That's,
Okay.
so that's separate
I
construction.
was wondering
from-
if they, why it would look like it was already started, but yes, I took a look at that, so, okay.
Yeah, separate
Okay, all right. Any
project.
questions for the staff, please?
Do you have an idea of how many additional students with the new building? Are they doubling their capacity?
That's a great question. Might want to direct that to the applicant.
Oh,
Hi, how are you? I'm Jeremiah Hand, Director of Development and Operations at West Valley Christian School. So by adding in this expansion, the additional classrooms, it would be an additional about 100 students is what we'll be able to add with this.
and how much of an increase is that? What is your number of students?
That is about a 20% increase from where we're at. We're currently about 400 students.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff?
Yes. I have a couple of questions. The metal storage, is that going to be permanent or is that temporary?
You said the outdoor storage?
The outdoor
containers?
storage?
Commissioner, thank you for the question. The outdoor storage container, I believe, and need to get the applicant up here again, but the outdoor storage will be used for, school, currently it's being used for construction and is used for overflow of, school chairs, things of that nature. I'm going to bring the applicant up here.
We're currently using a couple of Connex boxes for some temporary storage, like you said, for as we're having furniture moving from classroom to classroom, or a teacher may decide they want tables this year and desks next year, so we just need a place to store them. So that's kind of where we're using that as temporary storage for things to come in and out.
So that will stay in the foreseeable future, even though after the construction is done?
It would be preferable, yes.
Okay, the other question I have is, during construction, will access by the resident to the north be affected?
So thanks for the question, Commissioner. As stated in this presentation, and a stipulation of the approval of the special use permit, the residential drive access will need to be fully paved before any construction and certificate of occupancy is provided. So they will have access prior to any construction.
And the last question I have is, this is composed of 4 different parcels, right? So parcel number 1 is to the north, is about 5 acres. So it seems to me that, from what I see here, the request for the special use permit pertains to all 4 parcels at this point, even though nothing's going to be done on parcel number 1.
That's correct.
And if anything has to be done there, the applicant will come back for future approval.
That's correct. So they will come back for future site plan review and approval for any new work completed on additional parcels.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to speak? Okay, any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
Yes. I have Dolly Ortiz. Okay. Ray Ortiz will go first. And before you begin, just as a reminder, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Screens will let you know how much time you have left to speak. Before you begin to speak, identify yourself by clearly stating for the record your name and if you are a Goodyear resident.
Raymond Ortiz, yes, I'm a Goodyear resident. I'm one of the owners of the property that's impacted by that easement on the north side. This is a recorded document from a Howard Bachman who built the house that I now live in. It has a recorded easement that has a legal description. When I bought the property, I received the same recorded easement with a legal description. What I'm asking is, by the way, I would like to thank the school board for considering the proposal for different access. I really appreciate that. What we're asking the school to do is now to give me a recorded easement that goes with our property. So if I ever sell my property, the owners, the buyers of the property will know that that easement is for use of the property that I now own, because it will in fact impact any future owners of that property. So I'm asking for them to survey it with a legal description, record it to run with the owners of 452 North 161st Lane. That's the bare minimum I would request. In my proposal, I also asked them to build a block wall. They built a block wall around my property, so they know how to build block walls. I want them to build a block wall that goes from the corner of my property where a block wall stopped and go to the end of the easement where I'm going to turn and go east. Okay, they built a 6-foot, in some places 7-foot block wall around my property. That way I won't be impacted by the traffic, the noise, and that from that traffic, and it won't affect their egress or ingress at all. And they can do it very quickly, just like they did before. Overnight, they can build a block wall. We have lived in that property 15 years. Over that 15 years, we have taken 9 grandchildren to schools in the area. Okay, we've been able to go in and be able to go out at will. We love the property. We sent the school a proposal, say they could buy the property if they wanted. We haven't heard anything back from them. That way, the easement wouldn't be an issue. They would own the property, and their expansion could be even done more if they would do that. But I guess they're still thinking about that. Okay, I think I'll turn it over to my wife now.
Good,
That's all
thank
I
you.
have.
Okay. Yep, Dolly Ortiz, yeah.
My legal name is Pearl, but I go by Dolly. Yeah, we have lived there for 15 years. I do take my grandkids in and out of that easement, and needless to say, at the community meeting, I had to report to them, and they know, the school knows, I'm almost killed every time I go up and down my driveway. And so not only that, but the parents yell vulgar things to us and flip us off. I mean, sad to say, it definitely happens, and my grandchildren are with me when it's being done. So all of this has impacted my family more than anybody here could even imagine. You drove out to the area. Thank you for doing that. I wish everybody would, so that you knew what we're dealing with there. I have been a resident here my whole life, almost 70 years. And this has just blown me away that the city of Goodyear is actually even considering a school like this when there's so much traffic that's impacted the whole community, but definitely impacted my family, that they're even considering letting this happen because they can't control the traffic now. We were told 50 students. Today he says 100. So, I mean, I'm sure that's going to change again. It's going to be outrageous. And, you know, from my family, I really hope that you reconsider this whole thing. The legality, like my husband said, we need legal access, written, documented, and recorded. I'm a real estate agent. I know that that impacts your property for sale. Maybe they're doing it so that we have to sell to them. That's what my mind and heart is telling me. I think that if they do not do that for that easement, that they graded it, but we need it legally done, not just, okay, here, you have our permission. We talked to 2 attorneys. Both of them said they could take that permission away anytime they wanted to. That needs to be legally done, at least that. And thank you. I'm sorry, but my Irish blood comes out, and I really do appreciate you listening to us.
Thank you.
Leticia Castro.
Good evening. My name's Leticia Castro, and I'm a Goodyear resident. And I just wanted to come here and ask the question. Thank you, Chairman Clymer, for bringing it up, because construction did begin on that property. We had the neighborhood meeting, gave ideas and suggestions, and the next day, construction was already happening in that property. I would have liked for the process to be followed and for some neighborhood input. We are learning at this meeting today, such as for container storage, that there's 100 students expected, that there's going to be a wrought iron fence. And in this proposal, none of it included the residents of Wade Acres, which we have been significantly affected. Over the last school year, with 400 students, the school is not able to enforce or hasn't any traffic control or any safety. So there is a concern for adding additional 100 students when it hasn't been done before. So that's my first question. The process has not been followed. There has been one neighborhood meeting for us to give input. The Ortiz family was going to give suggestions and ideas. We were told about 161st not being utilized, but we haven't received anything to say that that's going to continue and it's not going to change. So I'm here to ask you to please make sure, one, that all residents are notified of these meetings, because right now the notice is only going out 500 feet, I think is what the city requires, but Wade Acres is more than that requirement. Also to continue to work with the community before they start implementing changes. Like Mrs. Ortiz said, we don't trust that things are going to get done, enforced, or not changed, because we haven't seen that. Our neighborhood did meet with the school to give them ideas to support with the safety concerns we experience out there on a daily basis, and none of those ideas were implemented. Thank you for your time.
I've not received any other speaker cards.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and commissioners, we can discuss.
Actually, let me get a recommendation first.
Oh, well, you want to do that?
Yeah.
Why, sure.
Give me just a moment here. All right. So,
Will the secretary please read the staff recommendation?
perfect, thank you. Recommend a conditional approval of a special use permit for a private school expansion on property zone agricultural urban, AU, and commercial office, CO, on approximately 16.45 acres property, approximately located at the northeast corner of Saraval Avenue and Van Buren Street, subject to stipulations. Is there a motion for the staff recommendation or a voice motion to recommend denial of the staff recommendation? No motions?
We don't have, okay, you got the motion?
Will you kindly repeat the question?
Yes. Is there a motion for the staff recommendation, or you can also voice an alternate motion to recommend denial of the staff recommendation or otherwise? So on the screen, you can motion or second for the staff recommendation or voice an alternate recommendation.
Well, I just have one comment.
Well, until we,
Yeah, we have to make a motion one way or the other.
So at this time, just waiting for a motion or second. Once we get a motion or a second, then we can do council discussion and take an ultimate vote, or I'm sorry, commission discussion. I have a motion from Vice Chair Sambito and a second from Commissioner Wang. Floor is open for commission discussion.
Did I hear it right that the construction has started prior to the approval of this proposal?
I said I saw some construction. I don't know what it was, so the applicant would have to tell me what it is that they're doing out there.
That was my first inclination as well when I drove by.
Commissioner, thank you for your question. So the construction that's currently underway is for parking and grading, construction which is allowed. Construction on the special use permit request items have not begun.
Okay, just for parking and grading, okay.
Yes.
Because I did see that road looked like it was going up over a hill. I think that's a funny-looking road if that's the roads, but it's getting ready to do some grading, okay.
So when I looked at Google Maps, you can tell, that's obviously not today's image, you can tell that there looks to be almost like pavement, but probably some rock broken down. Are
Probably
they
not.
just redoing the rock? I mean, when you say grading, that would be a question of grading for what? Is it just being redone from what was already there?
Sure, there's currently millings on that eastern site of, right next to 161st Avenue. I'm going to bring up the applicant so they can elaborate more on the construction regarding the grading.
Chairman, may I jump in?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Zambito. Just to provide some clarification, this is a unique project that's coming before you because it is an existing use. It was originally built in 2002, and at that time, we did not require a special use permit for schools. And then in 2007, the city adopted a zoning ordinance text amendment that required a special use permit, which caused the school to become a legal nonconforming use. Now, a legal nonconforming use is allowed to do certain improvements to their property, even certain types of expansions within a certain threshold. However, this school expansion triggered them to need to come into conformance with the code, and so now they're getting the special use permit. So there has been some construction on site right now, and there has been some over the years that fell under what is allowed for a legal nonconforming use under the code. So what's before you today is this expansion of the school, the addition of these school buildings, and the additional students that will come with it.
Has there been a traffic study done on this in terms of the impact of the additional traffic that this will generate? I thought that typically there is a traffic study done on a project like this.
The final traffic study would be approved with the site plan approval. So as a part of the SUP, they're required to create that traffic management plan, but for when they get to a point where we would look at approving a site plan, they would need to reauthorize and have that traffic study approved.
But with the site plan doesn't bring it back to this board for any kind of review or consideration. So if there's a concern, the concern from our perspective needs to be addressed today, right? Or from our perspective only.
So this would be administrative from a traffic perspective. So if there's any traffic mitigation that would be required as a result of them increasing, needing additional capacity on the driveways or Van Buren, that would be an administrative process, yes. So this SUP is really just about, can the use of expansion of the school occur on the property?
So what they're saying, that traffic issues will be either resolved or mitigated once you get the site plan going, and then to get final approval, then all that has to be taken care of.
Does that answer your question?
No, yeah, I guess so, because I guess that doesn't benefit the concern of the residents around that area at this point in time, if that's going to be done later on. So in case they have a question, so.
I will add, though, to that there is currently commercial office zoning, which could be built without going back to the commission, and then the property is zoned AU. So even with its current entitlement, any site plan, subdivision, or anything of that nature would all be administrative and need to be addressed. What this SUP does do, though, is required that they do submit a traffic management plan and has strict provisions on the use of driveways, that east-west driveway that cannot be used by school pickup drop-off between the hours of 8 and
6 a.m.,
6 a.m. and
4 p.m.
4 p.m. by the school. And then the provision of them having to put that wrought iron fence on the east side of the property inherently will restrict pedestrian and vehicular traffic from utilizing that roadway. So there are some additional provisions that don't exist today by zoning right.
The question about getting the easement guaranteed, as the couple had talked about, is that between them and the applicant? Yes, that's what I thought, to have that done.
But the provision of the SUP requiring that parcel be guaranteed access to that is an SUP provision that cannot be removed administratively, that can only be removed by a written notice of that property owner or by an action of this board and the council.
Any other questions or comments from? Okay.
Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes.
Maybe, I do want to add that you can add a stipulation requiring that easement be dedicated.
Okay, well, that's kind of what I was kind of getting at, so.
Do they not already have an easement, though?
They do have legal access and legal easement on the 161st lane.
So are we asking to vacate the original, and so they would have two easements then?
It's up to the discretion of this board and ultimately the council.
My concern would be is if we add a second easement, that further restricts the use of the property for them. I don't think that that's considerate, but I'm only one of 5.
You don't think it's what now?
I don't think it's considerate. I mean, they only need one access point. They don't need two. And by giving them the new one, then they still have rights over the first one, whether they choose to go that way. And I get the conflict with all the parents and whatnot, but I don't think they need both. And it does restrict the use of the school on both of them. So say they wanted to come in and do an office use on that other parcel, that new easement is now there.
Right.
And they'd have to work around
Understand
that.
what you're saying, yeah.
Would you kindly point to the map what easement we're talking about?
Yes, so this is 161st Lane. So this is the current easement that's shared between the property owner to the north and the school. This is the proposed drive that will connect 161st Lane to 161st Avenue. And again, this will be for the residents, their guests, and emergency services.
And that's a paved.
Yes, fully
Paved
paved, yep. That's correct, Chairman.
So that's just the resident to the north of this driveway, right?
Yes, sir. So the residents north of this driveway that currently have access to this drive, to 161st Lane.
Any other comments, questions along the commission?
If we were to add a stipulation, could it be that they resolve which easement is preferred mutually? And then that they have at least one, but I don't know that they don't need two.
You could do that, but I think the thinking is that this easement's going to exist anyway because it's going to be used for emergency vehicle access, I believe.
By the school as well?
Isn't that going to be our secondary access for emergency service? I thought that's what I heard you say.
That easement is not required based on the preliminary site plan that you see before you today. The applicant agreed to add that as a way that if the school traffic is on 161st, rather than the resident waiting in the school traffic line to get out, it almost operates like a bypass. So during the school hours, the school wouldn't use that driveway. Based on the SUP, it would be restricted to basically give them a relief valve to not sit in traffic. But currently today, they have an easement to get out. It's just an inconvenience right now when there's school traffic and queuing. But that is not a requirement today, right now, for emergency access of the site. However, it would also allow emergency access. It's written broadly that the resident can use it or a fire truck can use it, but the school cannot use it during those hours.
But that easement could change down the road, right?
It's not an easement as proposed here, but the applicant couldn't willy-nilly say, we don't want to provide this anymore, because it's a requirement of the SUP that they are to not use that drive and only allow that resident and their guests and emergency services if needed to use it. So it's not a legal easement, but it's a requirement of the SUP unless that resident provides to the city in writing stating they don't need them to do that anymore, or the property is sold and changes hands. The property owner could request that that provision be revoked. But it's only through the written notice from the property owner of that property that that could occur. So it's not an easement, but they can't get rid of it. So
But if it's a condition of disapproval, then that would stay.
that is correct, unless they write us as a city and state they would like to revoke that provision, the owner of that property.
As of now, it's only access in addition to the easement that they already own.
Right.
But what the owner is asking for is to make that a legal easement as well, so that they would, in essence, have both now.
Oh.
And that permanent obstruction.
I wish I could talk because you're wrong. We've been trying to work it out with the school. We were willing to give up our legal easement for another legal easement. We have been trying very hard to get that done. So it's not like we would have two easements.
The post office would not move our mailbox
Yeah, our mailbox
unless
is,
there's a legal easement.
we almost get hit checking our mail every day.
So I guess us making it a requirement to make it an easement wouldn't necessarily take away the other one.
Right.
Can we require that the other one be removed? I mean, if there's a concern, I don't know how official the statements are made because they weren't made in the speaker. But if there's a concern that they don't have the right to move their post box, that still puts them in the place where they're conflicting potentially with the parents going in and out, which was the whole purpose of giving them the second access point.
And my comment to that point too would be the property to the north is not within the SUP boundary. So if you did opt to make it a requirement for them to get another easement and revoke it, there's no legal way that we could require that other property to revoke the other easement. If that makes sense.
You mean there's a third parcel that has access to
The
that
residential
same
property is not a part of this SUP. So this SUP were to require the school to provide a new easement and revoke this other easement, there's no legal way we could enforce that. Because this yellow property is not within this SUP boundary.
But the way you have it now, it is enforceable.
It is
because
enforceable.
it's
They are
in the
required
SUP.
to provide a secondary access.
But it doesn't allow them to have their mailbox moved. Is there a way the city can work with the USPS to allow them to move a mailbox?
Well, that is up to the federal government to make that decision where that mail is located. And nor would that easement even compel them to do it per se.
No. Well, at least we're giving them a different access point. They'll have to go maybe before or after the kids are going to school.
Sure.
It's not ideal.
Okay, anything else? We ready for a vote?
Okay. Please enter your vote. Motion passes. Recommendation of approval will be forwarded to City Council for the June 24th meeting.
And as I said, this is a recommendation only to the city council. They have the final say-so. So the meeting will be on the 24th of June. Okay, agenda item number 3, the Guardian Storage Special Use Permit will not be heard tonight and will be renoticed for future Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. And the item number 4, the El Cedro restated pad, will not be heard tonight. It's been requested to continue the date and will be heard at the June 26th meeting. Are there any staff communications? Any staff communications? Anybody? Okay. All right.
Maybe not.
Next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will be held on June 26, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the Goodyear City Hall Chambers. No further business to discuss. Meeting is adjourned.
Question, what happened to Cedro? What happened to El Cedro?
We didn't just.
You have to open the public hearing and then vote to continue. Got it, okay. So that's done. But it sounds like David asked me, like, can it go July 1st or after the break? So it just needs to go after the break.
Okay.
What happened to it?
They wanted to modify some stipulations.
Didn't we go through all those stipulations? What do they want to modify?
They want to modify, there's a couple of references to parcel 4 from the old ordinances, and they want to revoke parcel 4 from some of those. So they sent us red lines today, so we'll
Who did that?